Whistleblower claims Antarctica has an air traffic control station for UFOs and technology that can cause earthquakes. Trust me, you don't want to go anywhere. This dude's name is Eric Hecker, and in 2010 he was selected to go down to South Pole in Antarctica for work. Hired by a third-party contractor, he was brought on by the National Science Foundation. While there, he worked for Raytheon Polar Services for a year as a tradesman and a firefighter. As a leader, his responsibilities required him to know more than his crew, and he had access to any of the facilities there. And he believes that what he found out needs to be shared with the world. Here's what he found. While there, he worked at a place known as the Ice Cube Observatory, located in the Amundsen-Scott South Pole Station. It's basically a particle detector that picks up a particle being emitted from the South Pole known as neutrinos. Neutrinos are the most abundant particle in the universe that have mass, though it is very small. So small, scientists still can't figure out their actual atomic weight. Every time atomic nuclei come together, like in the sun, or break apart, like in a nuclear reactor, they produce neutrinos. Even a banana emits neutrinos. They come from the natural radioactivity of the potassium in the fruit. Once produced, these ghostly particles almost never interact with other matter. Tens of trillions of neutrinos from the sun stream through your body every second, but you can't feel them. This is why scientists have such interest in them. They travel freely throughout the universe. So forces like magnetism or gravity have little to no effect on them as they move through the cosmos. You can use them to map things like the core of the sun, or even the death of a star or a planet being consumed by a black hole. But what they don't tell you is what else they can do and what else they're emitted from, which is where our guy comes in. Unknown to the public, UFOs and exotic vehicles also emit vast amounts of neutrinos as they fly. So this basically makes the South Pole an air traffic control station for UFOs. He claims that they use this for both alien vehicles and our vehicles. He also says these neutrinos are being used for faster than light communication. It's believed that these neutrinos actually do travel faster than the speed of light, though this hasn't been proven as fact. So essentially, I believe what they think is that somehow the craft possibly could be using neutrinos to travel faster than the speed of light. They pretty much know that they're using them to communicate faster than the speed of light. But what's more baffling is the fact that they have no idea where these neutrinos that are being emitted in Antarctica are coming from. They've made a number of guesses, but none of them have really been accurate. They still don't know what's emitting these particles. Then he goes on to say something more concerning. What they use to read these particles and pick them up is mind-blowing. Behind me are pods known as DOMs, digital optical modules. Neutrinos have a very high penetration power, which means they pass through matter without interacting with it. But in rare cases, they can interact with the nuclei of the ice, at which point they produce charged particles of light known as Cherenkov radiation. This is what the DOMs pick up. They basically place 5,160 of these things up to 2,500 meters deep in the Antarctic ice. These DOMs can actually transmit electricity at 2,047 volts each. And Eric Hecker makes a startling claim about these. He claims that when he was there in 2010 and 2011, they went from construction to operations and maintenance, meaning they fired it up. This was both in the elevated portion and the detector array. But upon firing it up, it took them 2 different shots before they were able to target it correctly. Then he states that the initial 2 startups caused an earthquake in Christchurch, New Zealand. So they've basically discovered that this is an earthquake generating device as well, that they can be used as a weapon of war. From then on, the military-industrial complex had a heightened interest in what goes on down there. There's another place there called the Clean Air Sector, the Atmospheric Research Observatory. He witnessed a direct energy green laser being fired out of this observatory into the cosmos. It's believed this is a secondary form of communication and/or weapon of war. And it doesn't stop there. He also found out there's an energy source being used there that dates back to before the Antarctic Treaty. He was never actually able to find out the source of this energy, but he believes it to be nuclear, which is mind-blowing because this is basically right around World War II. So could it have been the Germans? Possibly, but unlikely. It's thought to be exotic or extraterrestrial. And the reason they use this source and are able to is simply because it's not in the verbiage of the treaty. Wild stuff, right? There is a lot going on in Antarctica we don't know about. But after hearing this, my theory of first, this second source of energy that they're utilizing possibly, could it come from inner Earth or the indirect energy produced by the beings in inner Earth? I also believe that that's where the neutrinos are coming from, the energy or technology that they have in inner Earth. I mean, think about it. If neutrinos are emitted from UFOs, well, inner Earth beings probably have UFOs. Based on Admiral Richard Byrd's testimony, their technology is highly advanced compared to ours. Also, when I first started creating content, somebody sent me a Ascension Bible. And in this Bible, it talked about something called the Sphere of Amenti. The Sphere of Amenti is basically a super powerful element, if you will, acting as the sun in inner Earth. Now, of course, this is all hypotheticals, but I just found it interesting that it talked about this Sphere of Amenti. Some even call it the Ark of the Covenant. But it is highly protected by the inner Earth beings and Agartha. The evil side of the cosmos wants access to it, but it is very protected and they can't gain it. Because if they did, it would be detrimental to the entire galaxy. So, say this type of sphere or this does exist, then I can imagine it's emitting trillions upon trillions of neutrinos. And where would they exit possibly? Well, out one of the Sims holes through Antarctica. I would be willing to bet that if they went to the North Pole, the same amount or the same frequency of neutrinos would also be emitting from there. Just a hunch. But awesome. There's a lot to unpack there. If you guys want, check out his video online. It was at Dr. Stephen Greer's event that he spoke. So you could just check it out there. Eric Hecker's his name. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope this was enlightening and interesting to you. Stay in the love, stay in the light, be kind to others. Let me know in the comments what you think about the neutrinos. Are they from inner Earth? What do y'all think? I am out.